I wish during my early years I knew this simple formula for good life. Well, as they say, it's better late than never, and at least I know now. Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about a very simple formula that can help you lead a good life. And the good news is that in this formula, everything is measurable, you can monitor it, and I'll give you some of the tips and tricks that at least I used during my professional life towards this simple formula. Interestingly, this simple formula was given to me by one of my key mentors who has helped me grow in my career. I wish I had known this in my early days of my career, that I could have even been a lot more better. And as you will hear in the formula, there are a couple of things that I'm definitely struggling. Before I do that, a quick introduction about myself. My name is Yogi, and my wife Seema and I, we both retired early and achieved financial independence, and now we are enjoying our lives. And as a hobby, we create these videos to create financial awareness and help people with their own journey to financial independence. So, all right, let's get started. So, the simple formula is nothing but this simple word called SHIELD. S.H.I.E.L.D. And each of these letters represent a factor that can help us lead a good life. So let's get started with the first one. So the first one is S for sleep. Everybody knows how important sleep is to us. It's like the body's battery, like the phone battery, gets charged while we're sleeping. But the sad part is that during our professional life, it's almost like a badge of honor that we wear to show off how little we've slept and how hard we've been working. And there are many times that I've fallen for that same trap where, you're telling your colleagues that, oh, I just had 4 hours of sleep yesterday. Oh, I just had 5 hours. I was so busy working on this presentation or working on this proposal for the client. Now, that just creates a culture that we deprive our sleep for ourselves and just thinking that that's the best way to grow in career. Well, if it happens once or twice, it's okay, but make sure that it doesn't become a repetitive habit. There are some of the tips that I can give you. One is that I use my Apple Watch to make sure that I'm checking how much sleep I'm getting. Typically, I've seen that I sleep between 6 to 8 hours, sometimes maybe 8.5 hours. But I try and make sure that I'm within that 6 to 8 hours time frame. The second thing is that I find personally reading is a very good sleeping pill, and it relaxes you just before you go to sleep. Now, I know many folks think that it's or people even say that it's not a good idea to sleep with white light, but that's the bad habit that I have, that I read on an iPad, albeit keeping the brightness very low. But even with that iPad, it does definitely relaxes me and calms me before sleeping, and at least I get a decent or a good sleep after that. The third is just to make sure that you're sleeping at the same time, or you're at least getting the sleep at a similar hour every night, because then your body gets used to at least a certain routine. So just make sure that you're tracking your sleep and you're also not falling for that trap that you are just wearing this as a badge of honor, that lack of sleep means good news from a career perspective. The second is H for handling stress or happiness. Now, that's not as easy to monitor like sleep, that you can on your watch monitor it. It's more of a habit that you have to develop, that you do not take stress. And especially during the early years in our career, that's when there is a lot more stress, because that's when we are starting our family, we are getting into a relationship. We are also at the same time looking towards growth in our career. But the more we learn to manage stress at that age, the easier it becomes in the later years, when probably the stress becomes at another level, because that's the time when kids are going to college, we've got mortgage, we've got stagnation sometimes in the job, etc. So managing or learning to manage early on becomes important. There are certain things that you can definitely use to monitor. So for example, HRV, that's the heart rate variability, that how much variance is there between your heartbeats. You can do that again with the wearable devices like watches. The second is to make sure that you are after every few hours at work, you're doing some basic breathing exercises, just closing your eyes for 5 minutes at your desk and just doing breathing. I personally used another thing is that whenever there was a tough discussion that I had to have at work, I used to take the person who I had to have that tough discussion with, rather than sitting in a room, go for a walk. And it helps because you're getting fresh air, you're having a different kind of an environment rather than a cold room where there's a lot more silence around. And not just a tough discussion. Try and see if a couple of your conference calls, Zoom calls that you can do while walking around rather than just sitting at a desk. And anyways, it makes a lot of sense that even during the workday, even if you're at office, just every few hours, go for a short walk around. It clears the thoughts. And every day, the last point I would say towards this is make sure that you find 10 to 15 minutes where you can meditate, where you can at least close your eyes and just try and declutter your thoughts. And believe me, this has a big impact on not just in the early parts or the middle part of the career, but during the retirement years when you are a lot more needing to de-stress yourself. The third is I for interaction. We are social beings and interaction is very important between people. And as you will see from this graph, you can see that, during our early years, middle years, there is a lot more interaction we have with family, friends, colleagues. But in the later years, the interaction starts dwindling away. We spend a lot more time with just our partner or even alone in the real later years. So building that habit of interaction is very important. And interaction means that you're just not networking or talking to your family and friends, but you're just also building the broader network. So one of the tricks that I used to do during my professional years was every month I used to make sure that from my LinkedIn network that I'm meeting at least 2 times a month someone who is completely out of my office client business network. And I'm meeting them for lunch and talking about various other subjects. You get to hear a lot more different opinions, you get a lot more different perspectives, and it builds those social skills that you continue interacting. And once you have those skills, it becomes easier in the later years to make sure that you are interacting, especially in the years when there is a lot more loneliness or just your partner that you are. And we've been retired for now almost 1 year. And I can tell you that the day you retire, suddenly from that day onwards, there is definitely a big drop of those interactions that you've been having with the colleagues, especially, so that those efforts become even more important. The next is E for exercise. This is one of the things that I've been constantly struggling. I wish, as I said earlier, that I knew this formula a lot earlier. I would have probably spent a lot more time to make sure that I'm also building that routine of exercises. During my professional life, I think I put um, exercises on a back seat, and that is something that I regret that I should have not done. Now, again, the good news is this is so much measurable. You can measure it through your wearable devices, from your phone, from your routine, that how much calories are you burning, how much steps you are taking in a day, how much exercises you're doing. So make sure that even while you're traveling, just as simple tips, that when you're doing business travel, pack your sneakers in your bag, because again, sometimes we think, hey, I just don't want to keep a check-in luggage. I'll just keep carrying on luggage. So pack as light as possible. And that was one of my reasons or excuses that, hey, I don't have my gear to walk around. I just have my office shoes because I'm just carrying my carry-on luggage. So make sure have that small habit of packing your sports gear, no matter, even if it means that you have to check it in. The second is Track your steps. If you can't do exercises because of so many other factors, that you've been busy, you've been traveling, you've been, having a lot of stressful work days, make sure that you're having the target of steps. And that's what, at least in the later years, that I started tracking a lot more. And I'm really hopeful that from now onwards, now that we are retired, that I will not just be only tracking steps, but I'll also be building that resistance training, yoga, and the other things that will help us to make sure that we are entering our slow go years with a, a lot later. I've done a separate video on what the go-go years are, slow-go years are, and the no-go years are. And the key is that how do you postpone your slow-go years and definitely your no-go years as later as possible in your life. The next one is L, and that is L for learning. We need to constantly learn because that is what keeps our brain fresh. That is what keeps many diseases like Alzheimer's at bay in the later years. So that learning comes from eagerness. So keep making sure that your brain remains eager to know new things. And learning doesn't just mean professional skills. One of the things in the last 1 year of retirement I've learned is that, look, I spent a lot more time during my professional years to learn sales skills, negotiation skills, and so on and so forth. But now I'm learning about Milky Way. I'm learning about, we even did an art class and I really enjoyed it to the point that I'm going to probably enroll and we both are going to learn a lot more on how to do art skills. So during your early years, again, it's not just the skills that you post on LinkedIn that, hey, I'm proud that I've been certified in Microsoft Azure, but you're also showing your pride onto the other non-professional skills that you're learning and developing. So remain eager, curious, and continue to learn, because that will keep charging the, the batteries in your brain. And the last one is something that I've definitely been struggling a lot, and I still struggle, and that is D for diet, to managing a good, healthy diet. If you look at it from all of this, this is the easiest and this is the toughest. Easiest because it's all just about managing and having that mindful eating. Toughest because that's where it's very difficult. We get tempted. At least I love food, and during our travels, the love of food definitely added a lot more kilos to my body, even though we've been hiking and trekking so much. But the diet again will be helping you big time to postpone those go-go years, the no-go years and the slow-go years to even later. And definitely during this part of our life, when we've retired, it becomes super important. So build those habits early on. I had those excuses earlier that, hey, I'm on a business trip, there is a client dinner, there's a client lunch, we are having an office lunch, and it's difficult to manage, it's difficult to control what we eat, etc. But I think they were all excuses. I could have done a much better job of resisting, managing, telling people. So in summary, it's S for sleep, 6 to 8 hours, monitor it, manage it. Don't wear it as a badge of honor if you're having less sleep during your professional life. H for handling stress and remaining happy. Meditate, monitor your stress levels, go out, get a breath of fresh air as and when possible. I for interaction, continue to interact not just with your colleagues, not just with your family, friends, but build a bigger network and build deeper relationship with your friends. E for exercise, again, as they say, health is wealth, and that's definitely going to help you in the later years. L for learning, continue to be curious, continue to be eager, and don't just focus on those professional certifications or skills, but also those non-professional skills that you should be building in. And D for diet, for that, if other people have tips that I'm giving you, please do reach out in the comment section. Would love to hear how could I also improve, and what are those helpful tips that we should also use, or at least I should use more than Seema, I would say. So I hope you like this video, you found it useful, and I hope it gives you some new insight and a simple formula to leading a good life. And if you did, please do share it with your friends, with your family, and do subscribe to our channel. Till the next location, till the next video, And till the next topic, goodbye from me. Bye bye.